Mr. Common Crawford and the Jersey Guy podcast. How are you people doing?
What's up?
Doing great.
Yeah?
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
We got Justin back.
Yes.
Welcome, Justin.
Yeah.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, thank you for covering while I wasn't here. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
of course.
That was cool.
Yes.
We had a
Yes.
good time doing that.
Yes. That was a
was
good
very
one.
fun.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. You see, you just be that. You could be our guest.
Yeah.
Just keep coming back and forth. You'd be
Sure.
our special guest.
That was like a very natural. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
quite
Flowed
nicely.
nice.
Yeah.
It did. They had good topics too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Topics were sweet.
But that's the idea. That's the kind of flow we want to have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's why it's like, yeah, come in, talk about it, laugh, joke, have a good time. Yes.
I hope
It's
I
like,
can
what order?
continue to offer that.
That's it. Yes, that's it. You're a special guest.
Exactly.
Yes, man. So tonight's topic is dun 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 dun.
D&D.
Holla. G and Dragons,
Dragons, baby.
Dragons. Yes. So we're gonna we'll pick Justin's brain because he's the D&D
Right.
I guess what savant.
Yeah.
Connoisseur,
Connoisseur.
acquaintance.
We'll do connoisseur. Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
faster.
You're playing it, right?
I am playing.
Okay.
I am playing. I am currently a dungeon master for a group of 5 of my friends. 4 of my
Okay.
friends? 5 of my friends.
Okay.
I've done it one other time for another group of 6, and I'm also in one of my friends' campaigns as
Nice.
a player.
Now, are you playing like is online or are you playing with the actual board?
Every game that I have played so far has been online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you using a board when you're online, or how
I
are you
do.
doing it?
I do. I use Tailspire, which is a 3D digital board where you are able to create your boards
Okay.
through it. Super cinematic and thematic. Looks really cool.
Yeah.
It looks like the best version of in person when it's done at its peak,
Right.
where people go crazy with
Right.
making small castles and whatnot. All mimicked in digital form, and then just a Discord chat
Nice.
to get everyone connected and videos and all that.
Okay. All right. So now when you play with your friends, are you playing online like you would do other games? So,
Yeah. I mean, it's like almost doing the exact same thing.
Okay, same thing, just-
Yeah, this is just
it just looks better.
4 hours of
Yeah.
the same gaming that I do with my friends, but super scheduled.
Yeah. Right. Got
Which
it.
is
there's
always,
like-
of course, the hardest part.
So there's like a whole D&D community, basically.
At this point, absolutely.
That's fucking cool.
There's like a
Crazy. I
whole
love that. I love
there's like
that.
a whole corner of every social media for it. Like there's a whole corner of YouTube that's D&D content.
Yeah.
And people talking about it. And there's a whole D&D community on Twitter and
TikTok.
and yeah, there's
and
these
everything.
Patreon channels that run D&D games and whatnot, and Twitch streamers.
That's insane.
Yeah, no, it's an incredibly large community at this point. It's like I feel like almost 1 in 5 people that I have met recently
Yeah,
or within the
really.
last few years
Yeah.
have at least either played it or consumed some of the new media surrounding it.
Oh, no kidding.
Whether it's the movie or any of these streams, these large scale streams that have come out. Yeah,
That's
a lot of
wild.
people love it.
Well, have you gone to Comic-Con?
I've never been to a Comic-Con.
So at Comic-Con, the handful of years that I went, and it was a couple of years back that I went, they have a whole section at the Javits Center, and they just have all the tables set up, and just I'm telling you, there has to be at least 300 people that were just down there. I don't know what it's been the last 2 or 3 years, but just man, insane, and they're all at the tables, they're all set up, and on your the bad part is that on your way there, they have all the little shops set up. Well, like the kiosks, and people are just like buying more stuff, getting different dice. They're actually buying the gear. They're wearing the outfits while they're sitting there playing.
Dude,
and
you
stuff.
know what? We should all go to Comic-Con.
I'm just saying, dude.
Let's
Yeah, I
do
think
it.
I don't know.
wanna-
We'd have to
wanna
check
know-
to see
I
if we
wanna
could
see.
sign up now. I don't know if
I mean, we might have to wait till next year.
Yeah, well, it's not
I'm a
until
patient. I'm
October.
a patient person.
yeah, it's not until October to go.
Right.
But
I
yeah,
think that would be a
is.
great idea.
Dude, it
So the
is.
game's probably changed a lot since
Oh yeah,
1974 was when it first came out.
yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Now, are you familiar with how they used to play?
I've seen, and this is again that corner of YouTube that like some of it's D&D history.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
sometimes I watch
the game.
videos on things I have never seen in my life, or things that are too decades old,
Right.
or more.
Well, now, what do you find more interesting? The things that you've seen that you like can make it. I guess to say where I don't want to say that it made it harder, but where you were actually having to make your board, build your board. You know,
So like they used to do combat in ways that were mathematically like super different.
Right.
In some of the older versions. I think third edition is the most famous for like having the worst math system in it for combat, which is like the main thing that most people are worried about, and the thing that takes up most of the session is the combat.
Right.
Third edition had some kind of like, someone out there will know exactly what it is. You had to do like reverse math. You had to do like some type of either reverse division just to figure out if something
Is there
hit.
such a thing? Reverse division?
Whatever it was like
something like that.
it was some
hard enough.
they were doing PEMDAS to figure out if someone hit because of the armor class versus the hit rolls.
Okay.
It was
Sounds
crazy.
weird.
It was
That was in when they first started playing.
that
again?
was third edition,
Third
where
edition.
they really tried to
Gotcha.
mix it up, and it didn't go
Right.
as great. Clearly,
Got it. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? We kind of jumped in. Well, I jumped in. I went ahead a little bit because I know only that much about it.
yeah.
What's the basics of the game? Like, what do I need to be the starter?
Yeah.
Like, what do I have to do to get in? Or what should I do?
There's a very fun video of this exact same question happening recently on a podcast with John Bernthal.
Nice.
What's her name from True Blood?
Yeah,
Redhead.
yeah.
He asks the exact same question you did, and she said we could actually just play it right now.
I saw that. I know what you're talking about. Right. Duh.
We could play the game right now.
Yeah.
You don't actually need anything except a sheet that tells you numbers.
Okay.
When you build these characters, you have your main stats. There's, I think, 6 or 7. You have Constitution, Dexterity, Strength, Intelligence, Charisma, Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
6 attributes. You get to use a point buy system to add to those attributes.
Right.
The higher the levels are on those things, the larger bonus you get to your rolls. So you're going to be naturally better at certain things.
Right.
So let's say you guys are a group of elf scouts that all decide to be very dexterous and really good with bows. And you're out on a patrol. You see one of you has really high perception because you statted into having really high perception, and that person ends up having a passive perception that's high enough to see a trail of blood and leaves that are moved improperly.
Right.
To lead you guys to an owl bear,
Got it.
which is a huge mystical
yeah.
bear owl. That's in
Yeah.
D&D. It's as simple as that, but it's been spread out so beautifully thematically, and people have added so much more of the role-playing aspect to it now that it is a lot more than just simple combat and very simple tasks.
Right. The whole storyline, your imagination.
Absolutely,
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah.
So for me, building my stories, I have to plot out probably 20 sessions at a time in my mind
Mm-hmm.
as what could happen, as I kind of try and branch off
Right.
with what choices they're going to end up making, and also what the dice decide is going to happen
Got it.
before I'm comfortable actually playing.
Got it.
So like I have to have a 20 session plan in my head before
So detailed.
I'm yeah. I write out basically strings of timelines based on what might happen.
That's like more complicated than chess.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
like chess, you have to think like ahead, like, oh,
Right.
you know, if I make this move, can I make that move. So it's like the same.
And that too is also
Yeah.
mathematical.
Yeah.
As well.
yeah. And some of that stuff I actually like I don't decide exactly how it's going to happen. Some of it I write down as like, you will roll to see if this thing happens if they make this choice. and then go from there. So some of it is improv, right? Like a lot of it is actually improvisational, just naturally. If you want to add to it, improv is the way to do it. So it's not like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen all the time.
Right. Yeah.
They're not playing my little version of a movie. It's we're making a movie together.
Right.
Or at least that's how I try and set it up.
Right.
But then they
Well, you're obviously doing a good
things.
job because you said you're on what, your Master of 5, you said?
yes.
So,
yes,
hello,
I am,
then,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
Dungeon
you
Master 5 right now. They enjoy it
Yeah.
a whole lot.
Yep. Good.
Or at least that's what I think.
Yeah.
And what does it take to get to that?
The key thing, scheduling.
Yeah.
Scheduling is actually, and this is like the D&D meme at this point. Scheduling is the biggest boss in D&D.
Yeah.
So
just getting
what's
everyone
like your
together.
so what's like your story arc? Like, how did you start into D&D? Like, what got you into D&D?
Right. So, Stranger Things came out when I was in high school, and I think that was the
I know that was they were big into that. Yeah.
yeah. It was like the first time I had like discovered D&D's existence. I didn't know about it all of growing up. Found an interest in that part of the show, and then watched it slowly dissipate from the show as like a key part. And then I started to try and seek it out on my own online through like
cool.
YouTube and whatnot.
Right.
Critical Role is the largest streamer of this, and it's a bunch of voice actors that are super famous. You guys definitely know some of these voices.
Oh, really?
It's a group of them, and they stream them playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Are into this.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I can only think of so many things.
Be funny if it was like Clancy Brown.
The
He does like Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
Voiceovers for like Star Wars and shit.
for reference, one of the people that's in Critical Role is Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie's mom in The Last of Us.
Okay.
Because Ashley Johnson is the original voice for Ellie.
Oh. There it is.
She's just one of the people
yeah.
that's in that group of 6 or 7
Okay.
that streams online. They run incredible campaigns. It's a 200 episode show.
Yeah.
So do they like do they do voice for like specific characters and stuff?
So the DM is Matt Mercer, who is incredibly good at like switching his voice. Makes all kinds of fun noises, and then almost all of them play someone with a very specific accent.
Wow.
Everybody, whether it's
Yeah,
like
dude.
an old,
That's cool.
and they get like super specific with it too. It's like old posh English, or
kind of
like
rogue.
right, like you could do Southern accent, and then you can do like an
Asian
Atlanta
accent.
accent
Yeah.
in a D&D character.
Or do like a Louisiana.
Yeah, they get
Cajun
super
accent.
specific
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
Swamp.
They all play some super fun characters, and they all do super fun voices for their characters. That's actually one of like the really fun parts of that, like every DM has their sort of seasoning, like their secret sauce. Some people is like, oh, they do a bunch of voices and they're really good at it, so it like that's where I get my immersion from.
Right.
Or there's some people are like really descriptive during combat so that it's envisioned better and like more right. There's all these little aspects of like how people make the game more fun for their table.
Right.
I try my best to be a jack of all trades.
Right.
I'm not the greatest voice actor known to man. I try and do as many accents and voices as possible for them. And I have it
While you're playing the game.
while I play the game,
That's
as
freaking great.
depending on the characters
You guys
that
are
I'm
getting
playing,
into
because
it,
you got to
man.
remember, they're all playing one guy. I'm playing everyone around
Right.
them. So yeah, I try and do as many voices as I can. I try and do accents that I can in different octaves,
Right.
so that they can differentiate who's talking without me having to say, you look to your left and now this person says.
Right.
They can just hear me say a conversation and know that they're watching it happen.
Yeah. That's insane, dude.
That's like, and that's just like basic, like how to make it obvious what's going on. and easier.
It takes a while to get it, though, I would think.
For sure. But am I the best at that? No. Am I the best at describing combat? No. But I do take the time to make sure that like there's a cinematic for every single dice roll.
Got it.
Right? It playing in their mind to the best of my ability. And then the other thing is the material side of it. So like some people make incredible maps.
Right.
So that when it's finally time for combat, it's like this huge display of like, look what I fucking made for you guys.
Yeah, dude. That's so crazy.
Yeah. And I do get to have that. It's not as soulful as handmade, obviously. But I do get to have that with my Tailspire maps because I will spend hours searching for either other people's boards and slabs or using bits and pieces and trying to create my own from it.
Wow.
Whole weekends have been devoted to making a map for something that might happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and it's happened to me too. There was one time between this campaign and the last with my current group that I spent probably the most time I had spent on a map just for them to take the peaceful route for once. And I was like, this is so sick, guys. And then they were like super confused when the normally 4-hour session was only like 3 hours. I had no idea what to do. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes the dice decide what direction that story is going. And that's why I love it.
Is it regular dice or is there a special kind of die that you guys are using?
So your D20, your 20-sided die is your most universal die. It's probably the one that you're going to use the most. Every aspect and attribute that's on that character's stat sheet is typically rolled with a D20, right? Okay. So every stat that's on there modifies usually the D20, whether it's the actual core stats, dex, strength, whatever it may be, or the skills that are attached to those core stats. So something like, I think wisdom boosts your nature skill checks, your survival skill checks, and your animal handling skill checks.
Wow.
The skill checks get super specific, right? We're talking about all kinds of different things. There's a difference between perception and investigation.
Okay.
Those are separate skills.
Right.
Wow. It gets super specific with the skills, and they're all modified by how you decide to build the character. And all of those things are rolled with the D20. So let's say I'm a sharpshooter and I have a +10 to perception. I roll that D20. I hit my 15. That's an all right roll. My 15 is actually a 25. That's a super good roll now.
Right.
And that's how people build the characters up.
Yeah.
And then obviously the classes all operate differently in combat, and then some of them operate differently with a bunch of skills that they can do outside of combat. You know, like sometimes it's really, really helpful when someone actually has a flying speed.
Right.
So that they can do flight.
Thank you, sir.
Some teams will have that problem in the earlier game because they won't have like spells that can give them flight or anything, or will just have a harder time figuring out how to get a flight speed. Or you just have a druid turn into a bird.
Yeah.
Now we have someone that can fly.
There you go.
And that's where like the team building stuff comes in.
Wow.
And session 0 is probably actually my favorite session because it's where I get to establish the story and they all get to talk about their people for the first time to each other.
That is cool.
Yeah. That session 0 is probably my favorite part, honestly, because it's when everyone's the most excited because they know that they're about to start and they know that they're about to tell everybody about their character and like their whole spiel. And they're also finding out like so I do at least a 1-page synopsis of what the whole campaign's about to be about.
Got it.
Super fun.
I did not know that all that went into.
Yeah,
Me either.
Like
I had no
that is so
idea.
dope.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Not
That
at
is
all.
like
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It has evolved from being that thing that you did in the confines of your basement with with like 3 other of your nerd friends shamedly to like the equivalent of cooking all of your friends a meal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to spend a bunch of time to do this thing for you guys, and it's going to be an experience for all of us. And that's what it feels like.
But it's grown to that now.
It's grown into that now because people have added so much of that like sauce to it.
Right.
With all those extra things that they do. And also just how many editions it's been through.
Right. So what does the 5e mean, by the way?
5th edition is the most recent edition. It's the one that I use and am the most familiar with. It's probably the most accessible it's ever been. It's the mathematically easiest it's ever been. And it has the most content that's usable with that system.
Wow. Okay.
Out of all of them. And then 1D&D is a thing that they're doing now. It's technically the start of a new edition, but it's at its core, it's basically just 5th edition still.
Okay.
They've just rewritten how some stuff works. It's almost like a patch note for 5th edition.
Got it.
Where they change some core skills and core mechanics for each of the classes and also some monsters.
Like amendments?
Like amendments, pretty much. Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. 1D&D is the first amendment.
That is insane.
Okay.
Because I really thought that D&D and
I knew it was a board game in a sense, but I didn't know it was that.
Right. Well, I
that
thought
it
that-
grown to this.
Well, I thought that the board game
it's amazing.
that from when we were kids kind of thing, I thought it was more of like, flipping cards, like Yu-Gi-Oh or some shit. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Flipping cards
Yeah,
and then roll a die, and I'm like,
Right.
And you follow
I
the
can't stand to
path
play
and
that
you
game.
do that.
I know there was a board.
Right.
Right, but I thought that that you bought the board. I didn't know that people
Right.
were actually making the
Made
board
their
or
own.
building
Even
it.
back
and
then they were doing
that the
it, but they were
team
doing it on
building
paper and
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't know
that's
it was that.
the grid paper.
Right,
Was
yeah,
like that was
right.
how it was done for a really long
Yeah,
time.
and that's what I'm
Right.
saying. Like, I didn't even know that. I thought it was literally, but I thought it was just flipping cards and like I said, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I thought that
I was
that
kind of
was
with you in
the-
a sense.
Oh shit!
Magic.
I knew it was
Magic.
detailed because I knew a lot. A lot of people did it, and everybody was into it, even back then.
Right.
But it's not something I ever got into. I used to play the video game, though. I do remember the video game.
Yeah,
That was cool.
Yeah.
And it was hard to play. It wasn't easy.
yeah. No, it wasn't, bro. I couldn't stand
You're
that
lucky.
shit.
I'm lucky I ever got even past maybe the second round. If that. And I'm lucky if I got past that.
Yeah, that's it.
But it was super.
Yeah,
For its time, it was ahead of its time, for sure.
Oh, definitely. Well, did you ever play like that, Tom?
What?
D&D?
I never played it.
Not at all. None of it.
No,
Yeah, I haven't
no,
either.
I don't know
I
why. I
just-
never. It just never came across
Yeah.
my horizon. I don't know.
Me
It was
neither, but I do know.
Yeah.
I feel like for you guys, it was one of those things that like not only did you have to know about it, but you had to have like 4 friends
Right, that
who also
understood
knew
it.
about it and wanted to do it.
Oh yeah. So
pretty
there's
hard.
got to be
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a
Unless you're,
click,
like,
yeah,
totally
like or
nerds.
back
Yeah.
then, yeah.
I mean,
Especially for that time.
it is. You're asking 5 people for like 4 whole hours,
Yeah.
where that's all they're doing. You know?
Consistent 4 hours.
Yeah,
Like, it's
you're
gotta
asking
be-
for 4 whole
Yeah.
hours of their life,
And now, do you play?
where they're like turning their phones off. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Like,
dude, that's
Like, yeah,
insane right
exactly.
now. But then how often do you play with each one of your different teams or your?
So, it's because of scheduling, it's been a nightmare.
Right.
Which is supernatural and it happens. We were playing once a week at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Then we were playing, I think, once a month.
Oh,
Right. Now it's been whenever we can get
Yeah.
everybody together
Dude,
to do
ah.
it. It's
Yeah.
there's been schedule changes for some of the guys, and it's they like just cannot line up
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Right.
See
and
what
it
happens,
happens.
Joe? That's adulting for you, bro.
It happens.
Yeah.
I whip up my own little thing of like, hey, open this when it's time to go again.
Yeah.
So that I can even remember everything
it's great.
down to the nitty gritty detail.
Right, hell yeah.
Right, because I can write like they're going to get the dragon.
Right,
but
right.
there's also like they're going to get the dragon. They also talked to that ambassador
Right.
and pissed her off really bad.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean?
Like
Yeah.
there's other stuff that happened. Other
All
than
of those other
Yeah.
little things. Right. Because it might take a really long time for us to play again. And I will be expected to remember that because one of them does. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
one
yeah.
of them is going to be like, whatever happened to that ambassador?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So you just pulled something out of your ass.
That's all hilarious.
Not
Yeah,
with my.
yeah.
All right.
With you took your ass out.
With my current friends that I'm playing with, they're like some of my best friends, they wouldn't do that. The last group that I was playing with was good friends, but they,
Yeah, they would have done it.
oh, they would have done it.
I think
Somebody
it's
would
cool
have
that
done
the
it.
game has grown like that.
Yeah.
It had a beginning and where it started from because it didn't have the technology that we have now.
Right. That's why I'm bugging out with that.
How would we always say? Imagine if
part?
we had the technology.
Oh,
and
dude.
we
Oh,
were
my
kids.
God.
Right.
Yeah,
Free-
but,
yeah.
I'm glad we didn't because
Me
we
too.
would
I
have
was happy
got
with
we
it.
would have got
Right.
caught.
But think about it though. We would be like, and then our kids would be even more off the wall bananas.
I mean, yeah, you guys were getting dozens of people to be out all night until
Yeah.
the sun was
Yeah,
you know,
coming
down.
right back up.
Right.
Hell yeah.
If you could get that same community fully connected online,
Right. Oh,
that
forget
whole
about it,
time,
Yeah.
yeah,
Of course.
yeah.
Well, now, so do you find that people playing different games? So like with my son, he's a PC head, and I forgot what game he's playing right now, but he's in it, and they'll do like you said, they'll have campaigns all night long. It's not a Call of Duty or anything. I forgot what game it was that he's playing, but anyways, he does that. So like, then is it depending on the game that then more people are into it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest thing is the game cross-platform,
Right.
right? If it's a game that's made to be multiplayer and cooperative, and it is cross-platform, so like everyone can play with each other, regardless of what they're on,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably going to end up. It's like destined to be one of the more popular games.
Got it.
Just immediately. That's
Right.
like the new status. It's the new gold standard.
Okay.
You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Yep.
Which is actually at this point starting to become the bare minimum.
Right.
Like if you don't have cross-platform,
right.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it's like, oh, sorry, I can't play it on an iPhone.
Right.
I
don't
can't.
have
Right.
Android.
Right.
It's
right.
gonna. Well,
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is right for like
Or
the,
like, oh, I got to play the Android version with
right.
Yeah.
The other thing too is the game's population. You've now
Shrunk.
like segregated.
Yeah.
Completely. So they're only going to have maybe 2,000 people to play with on this console. And then there's 20,000 people that get to play on this console and they have a great time, but
Yeah.
there's 5,000 that play on this. And
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
like
It's
hard to
amazing.
find a match depending on the time
And
of
of course,
day.
online you're gonna have it's gonna be huge.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people are gonna be on there just
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
And
gaming away.
is there any such thing as a pickup game?
For D&D?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's you could Google search D&D one shot
Uh-huh.
right now and they would probably give you several pages of just really good one shot campaigns where it's just like we're going to play D&D today for 5 hours and that's it.
That's crazy.
Just a single episode. Like those ones really do feel like right. So like normal D&D feels like a really long TV show, right?
Right.
Like Star Trek, but a one shot feels like a movie. you
Okay.
know?
Got
It
it.
feels
Okay.
like a
Yeah.
super short movie. You pack it full of action. You try and pack it full of like a very catchy story,
Right.
and you give it like a climatic conclusion towards
Right.
the back end of usually 4 to 5 hours.
How did you like the movie? Yeah, nope. You gotta be honest on Justin, bro. You can't because see, I don't play the game,
Right.
And I thought the movie was pretty groovy. That fantasy, like, oh, okay, that's cool.
No, that's fine.
Which movie we're
I
talking
th-
about?
the Dungeons and Dragons
Okay.
movie,
Yeah.
Honor Among Thieves.
Oh, yes, I do remember
The
that.
Dungeons and Dragons movie
Right?
was probably one of my favorite action adventure movies
Okay.
in a decade.
Okay.
It was so good. They captured the whimsy of
I'm gonna have
table.
to watch this.
They
Yeah.
captured the whimsiness of table play
Right.
without ever showing you the table.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like it's just the actual story that someone would play.
Right.
Done beautifully. In world, in the traditional D&D setting, which is the Forgotten Realms.
Right.
They mention all kinds of fun stuff for people like me who play.
Yep.
Like all the other places in Forgotten
Different
Realms.
realms.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is the big one.
Right.
They name drop Baldur's Gate in it,
Yep.
which is the video game that
Okay.
exists for it. That's huge. The movie is so good, and I desperately hope that it gets a sequel
Yep.
because right now there's like no
Isn't
talks.
Christopher Pine?
Right.
Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
Pine was in it.
Uh-huh.
He plays Captain Kirk in Star Trek.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
guy. Yeah. That guy.
Yeah, Chris Pine plays the he's a I did see all. They did release all their stat sheets.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Oh, see, that's
they did
cool.
stat sheets for every single character.
cool.
He was, I think, a bard.
Yes. Yeah.
He was a multi-class. He was
Right.
a bard and a rogue.
Yep.
He was like 4 levels of bard, and
Okay.
I
Which
think
means what?
2 levels of rogue.
Well,
That's
the rogue, I
your
suppose.
your classes. The bard is a very charisma heavy class that has basic spell casting, and it's usually illusions.
Okay.
Yeah, that was his character, right?
Yeah. He did.
No.
He was
Oh,
charismatic. Yeah, he was like very persuasive. He
Yeah.
was very funny.
He's a
Yeah.
magician.
He did
Yep.
basic little magic.
Right.
And he was also kind of stealthy.
Yep.
That was like his thing.
So then you think that all the characters fit?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they nailed it.
That it was a good
every
it was
single
a good
one.
representation of the game then.
Absolutely, especially the guy that was clearly higher level than them.
Right. Yes. yes.
The paladin guy.
Uh-huh.
Paladins traditionally like no intelligence,
No kidding.
no intelligence
insane.
whatsoever.
But in this, it was different.
No. In the movie,
just
there
like
is a
sentinels
paladin,
and
but
no
he is
intelligence,
like
yeah.
he's like Prince Charming.
Yeah.
where there's not a thought behind those eyes.
Yeah.
God.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It was great.
But
You
he
gotta
looks
see it.
great, you know?
Yeah, he's a pretty boy,
Yeah.
whatever, and he's
He's a
like,
pretty boy,
people, like, stop
yeah.
to look at him and shit. It's a good movie. It's a good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I
I'll
liked
check
it.
it
I
out.
thought, but see now the funny, like not changing this how we go together, but it's I can get into the D&D and watch that with no problem. But then I have a hard time watching the DC movies. You know what I'm saying? Because even though I know it's a little bit like I'm like
right.
I know it's a
Something's
different
wrong
thing,
or
but
something, yeah.
they said Dungeons and Dragons movie was pretty daggone spiffy, bro.
It was so good,
I
and
was
they
in it.
and they could do so much more with it because they're in like
Yeah, right.
they
right.
did it in the setting that has the most content,
Got
which
it.
is the Forgotten Realms.
Right.
It's like there's years and years and years of stuff for them to use.
Now, do you think it would be a worthwhile with that same crew? Could there be a
Could
worthwhile?
they could definitely return those characters. They all have like another 10 or 12 levels worth
Got
of
it.
stuff
Got
that
it.
they
Yeah.
could be much stronger, all
Yeah.
of them.
So they can come back. So
Yeah.
the sequel could be them stronger.
Yeah.
Like they could come back like,
After some
like
time.
One Piece.
Right. Yeah, it
Sorry,
could be
that's
much
anime, cartoon guys, sorry.
it could be much later thing.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the fun part too, is like the level changing thing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Like leveling up feels like a real progression of time for every single character. And some people, all right, very few people use the experience points, which is like, if you kill this, you get this many points. And then we have to do fucking math
Right,
to figure out when you're going to level up. Some people do that. I don't, because it's silly.
Right.
I do the milestone method, which is just like, if I feel that they've hit a milestone
Got it.
or like something that's genuinely impressive, they level up.
Now, is it impressive because of how they're playing or impressive because of the story that you've written?
It can be a combination of both, right?
Okay.
So let's say I think it's just time for them to level up because it's about to get a lot harder.
Okay.
I can try and implement something thematically that would make that possible. Like maybe they receive a blessing
Okay.
or a boon from a god, or they have this interaction with a demigod or something that offers them that blessing or boon. And it just equates to they level up. That's pretty huge.
Yep. Yeah.
You
that's
know,
definitely-
that's
It's
something
wide
really
open.
cool.
You could pretty much do almost anything.
Yeah. There's the mechanics allow the improv to flow.
right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
There is a mechanic that I can rely on or backstep to when I need it to make the story go the way it needs to go, which is really just forward. You know,
Right.
whatever direction they decide to go, fine. I can do things always mechanically to make it go forward. Not always easy. Sometimes it does brick wall. Yeah, you can brick wall bad. And 9 times out of 10, the brick wall actually is just a TPK, a total
How long
party
does it?
kill.
You say 4 hours. So 4 hours is the exact. That's the length of the game, or you can come back and still continue. The game.
Oh, I continue from where we left.
Oh,
every
okay.
single time.
Mm-hmm.
I
Does
get
the game
yeah.
ever end at some point?
I mean, I have an idea of what it looks like with them ending. Yeah. Sometimes I envision like, all right, what does it look like if this story and these characters hit level 15 and that's the end?
Mm-hmm.
15 is pretty high. From 15 to 20, it gets crazy.
Okay.
Combat takes like longer than 4 hours at those levels
Mm-hmm.
because people are pulling apart the fucking fabrics of reality.
Right. Yeah. Right.
You're right.
Yeah.
The level 20 sorcerer is gonna like make it so there's no ground under you anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Stuff like that. And
Yeah.
me personally, I don't think that's like where it starts to get not fun.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like now it's like you just
Yeah.
It's like Dragon Ball. Just
Right,
blowing
like
up planets
everybody's
and
just
wah, wah,
dragging- yeah.
everybody's super
Exactly.
strong.
We're
everybody's
cratering the
super
earth.
Saiyan and all that other stupid shit.
Right,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
fun in some
Yeah,
aspects.
but not for that game when
Not
you're sitting
for
there.
right. Not for something that we're going to invest months
Right.
into doing.
Yeah.
It's just not as fun. It'd be really cool for a one shot.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I would love to run a level 21 shot just to see how bad it gets.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's something I should do. And
Yeah.
I think
Well, I mean, you got your crews already. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you know,
oh,
pick
they
the
would
ones that
be so happy to do
Yeah.
that. To get to play a level 20 character is a privilege.
You should, bro. And then we'll have you back, and you can
Yeah.
tell us how it was. We'll have like a whole other
Maybe I will do that.
video game,
That would
board
be super
game
fun.
thing. Yeah, because that's insane. That would be so freaking cool.
Yeah.
I mean, again, only because I see like you're just loving the hell out of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I absolutely love this.
So
This
then
is-
I've seen other people that love it. So then to know that would be something like,
Think about it, man. There's people who are probably nuts about this.
Yeah.
Stuff, you know what
I mean, it's if paintings or visual art and poems and literature are thoughtful art,
Right.
and music is audio art, and
Right.
movies are a combination of those things.
Yep.
What is it when I also add improvising
Yep.
with my friends to
Yeah.
it? Because that's what I'm doing. I'm
improvising.
making a movie, improvising it with my friends in real time.
right.
That's like as artistic as it
Yeah,
can
that's
get.
pretty
You know
cool.
what I mean? When you actually think about it. And for me, it's like as someone who was always, I think, a creative, but never found their way to,
Mhm.
you know, like the tangibleness of being a creative.
Right. Yes.
D&D was absolutely that
Wow,
for me.
okay.
I think it makes you more social. I think it makes you more creative.
Do you have your past stories like in the games that you've played before? Because then I'm thinking right now, you write this down,
Yeah.
you know, maybe almost copyright it or whatever,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And then just sell it to some movie
I see.
studio, you know what I
right
mean?
away.
And
I could easily make a book out of the last campaign I did or the one that's currently happening.
Right.
And it would be a banger high fantasy epic.
yeah,
You know? I keep my games pretty close to high fantasy,
okay.
like Lord of the Rings.
right.
But I
Yeah,
do
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I don't keep it as archaic as Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
though. You know what I mean? Because like most of Lord of the Rings world is like pretty
It's brutal.
brutal and archaic
Yes.
and like pretty simple.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And magic is not as prominent in it, obviously.
No.
I keep it a little closer to high fantasy though.
Right.
There's a little bit more of that Harry Potter whimsiness.
Yeah.
Okay.
and
That's cool.
magic and
Dude, you should
I'm gonna
totally
have to check
do
the
it.
movie out.
Yeah, we gotta see the movie, but
Oh,
now I'm
right.
hooked on you saying your stories are like that.
Yeah.
I would love to
Yeah.
see to read your stories, or like I said, even if somebody could animate his story, like you said, you know, send them to
comic
you know
book
to,
almost.
to yeah. Oh, make it, oh, dude, make it a comic.
Yeah.
That would be a really groovy
It's-
graphic novel.
It's awesome. Like, and it's, you know that it's good because of the reactions of the players.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've had
awesome.
people cry. I've had people laugh. I've had my headset almost exploding off my head because they're all screaming. I like if I can make a story that conveys just this group of people
Yeah,
that are
dude.
part of it to
Right.
feel that way
Yeah.
about it. Like, yeah, this must be a good story
Dude,
at
it's
that
got
point.
it. Hell yeah.
Yeah. As long as you're getting the appropriate reactions at your table, or at least like close to what you expected, you're doing a good job.
Now, what's the mix of people character wise? So as like your friends or just people that you've heard play, like somebody like a cop is, each friends are just
Different, you mean
regular
like-
nerds, like what is it like the character of people, the kind of people that play.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean it's still nerdy at its core. It's still nerdy at its core for sure. But I think theater kids,
No kidding.
Because I get to act
Band
the
kid-
characters
right.
and stuff.
Right.
it's
There you
improv.
go. That makes
That's
sense.
all improv. It's basically
Right.
free
That's
stage time with
Yeah,
friends.
that makes sense.
Theater kids is your biggest dynamic that it's like clearly prominent in. And then I think just your gamers that are in it for story.
Okay.
So like your Last of Us, God of War
Mm-hmm.
Right.
enjoyers, people that are in it for like campaign games.
Right.
Baldur's Gate just came out 2 years ago. The game that they worked on for apparently a decade. It's still one of the most played games for the fantasy category.
Right.
Like, and it's 2 or 3 years old now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's incredibly good. I think a lot of people, right? We had Stranger Things, we had Critical Role, the Twitch series that
Right.
became super, super popular. You have Brennan Lee Mulligan's Dimension 20 series, another streaming one that became super, super popular. Then you have Baldur's Gate. So now everyone that somehow hasn't seen Stranger Things
Right.
or is a gamer, huge population,
Yeah.
now knows about D&D.
Right.
Because they're
That's
playing
insane.
Baldur's Gate. And then they're saying, you know what? I can make a story.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could just make this game
Yep.
for my friends.
Yep.
Have you read any stories that kind of like, blew you away or you impressed with?
Yeah, so there's like a whole section of Reddit where people talk about their D&D campaigns. They're like, this is what's fucking going on with my people right now.
Wow. Okay.
I've seen, there's been some crazy ones. I've heard of stuff like an in-game and real life proposal at the same time.
No way.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane. bro.
Yeah.
That is
People get crazy.
Yeah.
People will die for this shit. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
yeah.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm
nuts,
saying,
man.
dude. I mean, and I guess if there was an easier way to, I'm just into anime. I like the cartoons. To just, take your stories and animate them and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that would be insane.
Oh.
Like, that would be.
This happened. Critical Role made a series with Amazon, an animated series.
No shit.
Yeah, the first campaign of Critical Role is being animated right now. There's already 2 seasons out.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's an Amazon show.
And it's called Critical Role.
It's called Critical Role, I think.
No kidding. Oh, I'm
It's called
gonna look
Critical
for that.
Role, and they're animating their second campaign right now.
No shit.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna look that up.
It's
Critical Role.
awesome. The artist for it is the guy that was the animator for it is the DC cartoon animator
Ooh.
from Teen Titans to Justice League movie.
Shut up.
That guy. So
Yo,
that's
I love
the
that
animator for
animation,
this show.
bro. That
Yeah.
shit is fire.
Yeah.
Oh, Critical Role.
Yeah.
Gonna go watch it now.
Critical Role.
Definitely gonna go watch it.
It's really
That
good
is
stuff.
shit, man. I can't
really good
wait.
stuff.
I gotta. I love. Like I said, I'd rather watch it than play it. I know it sounds stupid, but not stupid. But I'm just like that.
Well, you know what it
no,
is.
no,
I
that's-
think you have to have you. That would have to be something that would interest you right away.
Yeah.
You would know. I think you would just be like,
Right.
"Oh yeah, this is my thing. I can do this kind of thing." I mean,
Well, hearing how Justin's
but
talking about
that's
it, bro.
it's
Yeah, I just don't know.
Very
about it,
intricate.
I just
intricate.
yeah,
the
I
most
just don't have the time for
captivating
that.
thing. No, yeah. I mean, time. That's
Yeah.
Again, scheduling is the biggest
Yeah.
boss in
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons.
You
Yeah.
gotta live life. man.
Yeah. I live by the seat of my pants.
But yeah, man, it is so important to find the time to go out and play.
yeah,
And D&D is like such a nice, easy, formal way
right.
to really feel like I'm in the treehouse again.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay.
I get it.
Yeah, it's
cool.
Yeah.
just incredible.
Yeah, that's all.
That is way groovy. That
is
is awesome.
very
Yeah,
cool.
listen, bro. I'm
didn't-
definitely gonna look for that.
That's a lot
Yeah.
You know, and it's just amazing what you can do.
I feel like I
and
just
how much room you have.
Blasted
It's
that at you guys.
No, it's like, I didn't know.
I
Like,
had
I didn't
no
know.
clue it was
Yeah.
that. Yeah, because I knew it was there. Like I said, I've been to a
I just
handful of
know
Comic
the
Cons, but
like board game.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
and that's what I
right.
thought it was, bro. I thought it was a board game that, you know, people just started to build castles on, and like, you know, they were buying little figurines and such and throwing it on there and flipping the card and saying, it's powerful. You know what I mean?
Simpletons.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what well, I didn't think they were simpletons
Well, I'm
because
just
I knew
saying,
it was
being funny.
mad.
I'm just saying.
And I, you know, I
Right.
just like, yo, listen, look at these guys. They're freaking doofuses. I wouldn't sit there this fucking long.
It's so cool because like you could. So you make your own characters, right? Yeah. So you could be like, we're gonna do like GI Joe theme. We're gonna do, like we could do
absolutely.
GI Joe versus
Yeah.
Cobra
It might
or
be,
something like that.
Yeah.
Cobra Commander is one of your
you-
characters.
Right. And
There's-
that's the whole thing.
You can make it compatible to whatever you need it to be.
Okay.
Like if we wanted to run it as a Star Wars one shot,
Right.
you could do it with everything that exists in the game.
Yeah.
Easily.
Right.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That is so sick.
That's the modular bit of it.
Yeah,
It's like
I love it.
it can get super fun.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
You can make it however you want.
Well, with that, bro, I appreciate you being here. Thank you,
Of course,
because
yeah.
I had fun with that one. I think you do what?
Just make sure people follow us on Instagram.
Oh, Instagram,
Facebook.
all social
And
media.
again, we are
On
putting
YouTube.
video versions now
YouTube.
on our YouTube.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So, yeah.
So
Watch
yes,
the full video.
hell yeah,
video.
come in, yeah, because I appreciate everybody. They've been watching. People have been watching. So appreciate it. Thank you much. Because I love you guys. Without you, we wouldn't be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you
of
for
course.
being here, bro. Thank you for saying yeah. Because you could have been like, yeah, no, I'm, you know what? No.
I will never pass up
Thank you.
talking about D&D.
No, you gotta come here and talk about everything.
Yeah. Unless it's
That's
for, to play D&D. Correct.
Yeah, no
I
lie.
turn into a different beast.
Yeah,
as soon as I hear D&D.
Nice. Well, again, thank you for being here. So until next time, everybody, thank you for being here. Love, peace, and hair grease.
Live long and prosper.
Go vegan.
Holla.